Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. In today's video, we're going to be assembling some 690 round balls in 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch. This time lead, not zinc. I did not tumble or polish these. I wanted to test them right out of the mold just as a baseline to see how they would do. We're using some Winchester WSF powder today. That would be Winchester Superfield. You could also use powders like Long Shot, HS6, Blue Dot, Green Dot. Anything like that will build up some good speed. You could also use target powders like Clays or Red Dot. Any powder 4 ounce and 1/8 will work here. The wad we're using is the Ballistic Products BP 1220. You do need to cut off the petals, ditch the shot cup. We don't need that. Instead, we'll be using a 16 gauge hull as a Sabot. We'll touch on that in just a second, but you need an X12X gas seal to bring up stack height. That will also stop the ball from having the potential to blow through the BP 1220 wad or any other target style wad. You don't want that. And these just sit, you can see what I mean here, on top of the wad. If you did that, it has a chance of blowing through it. But on top of the X12X, it's a much firmer, more solid base. It won't blow through. Here's a piece of the 16 gauge hull we'll be using as a Sabot. Just wanted to show you how it'll work. You slip it over the round ball, and it is the exact right diameter for a 12 gauge barrel. It'll look much better when it's loaded into a shell, but the plastic being so thick on the hull is a lot better than the wad pedals. The rifling in a fully rifled barrel tears up the wad pedals, ruins accuracy. You don't get that with using a hull. And speaking of hulls, what we're using is a brand new primed 2 3/4 inch Fiocchi, and yes, it already has powder in it. However, that is what we're using. Here's what one looks like already put together. Crimp looks pretty good. You can see the hull works as a Sabot. Like I said, it's the exact right diameter for a 12 gauge bore. If you don't have any BP 1220 wads or any other wad that is the same height from the gas seal to the bottom of the shot cup, you can use 2 FS12 gas seals. They will work just fine. They are exactly the same height. And if you're wondering where the idea to use a hull as a Sabot come from, that would be Jeff of Taufledermaus. It was a genius idea, and it does work very, very well. Anything from 685 to 695 diameter. And the 16 gauge shells I've chosen to do this with are ones that were fired out of my Remington 1148. That gun has a long recoil action. I'll show you what that is here in just a second, but to describe it, the barrel, when you shoot it, moves back into the action, which slams the bolt face into the back of the shell, which, as you can see, dishes it in. Now, yes, it is reloadable, but sometimes it's dished in bad enough where you have to set it on a hard, flat surface with a punch and a hammer and beat it back flat. And if you're wondering, yes, it does it to factory shells too. This was a 1 ounce Winchester Super X 8-shot. Let me wipe the water off of it real quick so you can see it better. Yep. It's a little dished in too. And to show what a long recoil action is, for those that don't know, the barrel moves back into the action when you fire it. And if I push it hard enough, that locks the bolt open. And to actually make the Sabots, I just cut the base off the hull, the metal part, and take a pair of scissors and divide it into sections of 3 or 4. Normally I cut the crimp off. This was roll crimped, but you don't have to. And if you're wondering, no, the Sabots do not have to be exact. A little lopsided is fine. You typically get 3 to 4 Sabots per hull, and all you want to do after cutting them is make a slit. That way the projectile falls free easier. We're using 31 grains of Winchester Super Handicap for a 1 1/8 ounce load, and if I remember right, that usually gives us about 1400 FPS with a 1 1/8 ounce load. Alright, and to start this off, all you want to do is trim off the petals from the BP 1220 wad. The 690 round ball doesn't even really fit in them. That wad does have pretty thick petals. Yep, pretty simple to do. So putting these together is very simple. Ballistic Products BP 1220 wad with the shot cup removed. X12X gas seal, that is to again raise stack height and prevent the ball from blowing through the wad, which is what you definitely don't want. Once you got your Sabots ready, take your round ball, and you really want the sprue facing up on this. Get it the best you can. You can adjust it later, but yeah, get it inside your Sabot and set that down inside your hull. Again, try to keep the sprue facing up or down. I like mine facing up, but I have a TPS wad. The bottom of that, the gas seal, is concave, which pushes the Sabot down with the round ball instead of just making contact with one or the other. Now, I'm adjusting that to make it straight up. And then we can just crimp like any other shell. And this one actually came out pretty good. They don't all come out good. You'll see that in just a second. But this one did. And these are generally pretty accurate. So doing one more here, we got our wad, X12X gas seal, and then our round ball and Sabot combo. Now, what happens here in a second is sometimes these round balls will actually fall through the Sabot. When that happens, just go ahead and take your TPS wad and push it down. It'll come out just fine. Of course, you have to adjust the sprue at that point, but once you got that centered and facing up or down, go ahead and crimp it like any other shell. And this one came out pretty good too. These go together pretty quick, guys. Here's the 3 I loaded in this session. So be expecting a range video on these pretty soon. We have tested a few of these already, and they seem to be fairly accurate. I had a 2.5-inch group at 42 yards. That's pretty respectable for a smooth bore. And we'll see you guys in the next one.